Speculation is swirling over who could potentially join the race for the White House in 2024. Many Republicans eyeing former President Trump to possibly run again, but Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is quickly gaining ground. DeSantis is proving himself a financial powerhouse, raising over $110 million for his re-election campaign from former Trump donors, a possible sign that some Trump supporters are looking toward other presidential candidates. But Trump remains a favorite over any possible contenders for the 2024 Republican nomination, with 55% voter support. Right now, DeSantis is at a distant second at 20%. So here with us to discuss more, Julia Manchester, national political reporter from our partners at The Hill. Julia, thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
We mentioned that hefty re-election war chest, more than $110 million. He is still fundraising. We said he will be in Utah. Now, he has deflected questions about a possible run for president, but is it essentially a foregone conclusion at this point?
You know, look, I think Ron DeSantis is seen as a presidential hopeful on the Republican side just because of the star power he's really amassed, since the beginning of the global COVID-19 pandemic. And you see a lot of Republican donors starting to come around to him. I mean, they were coming around to him before, but I think they're looking at him as a potential future leader of the party, and they see the future of him in him. He is a young face. He is someone who, regardless of how you thought he handled the pandemic in Florida at the time, he's someone who got a lot of approval from Floridians for how he handled that pandemic. And he's seen as someone who's also been considered Trump light. So he's not exactly just like Donald Trump. He may have some of his mannerisms very much in lockstep with him on policy, but he definitely has his own style. So going forward, he is definitely in the pool, in the running for potential 2024 contenders.
All right, so we're talking to DeSantis and Trump here. Let's talk about the relationship between the two. It appears to have actually soured a bit. Trump recently took some jabs at his former protege, calling him gutless Ron DeSantis. Then that was just this week. So, Julia, can you talk to us about maybe what has spurred this change in that relationship?
I think Trump supporters and President Trump himself would say, and he has said this, that there would essentially be no Ron DeSantis if it weren't for Donald Trump. Donald Trump very much boosted his gubernatorial bid in 2018 when he was a congressman serving on Capitol Hill and then ran for governor. So, Ron DeSantis has absolutely benefited in many ways from the Trump brand. And although during the pandemic especially, they were seen very much in lockstep with each other, we saw them together a lot. They were seen as sort of two peas in a pod, if you will, in Republican politics. I think as DeSantis' star power has grown, as he's sort of eclipsed President Trump in some polls, not the majority of them, but some polls, I think you're starting to see President Trump pay attention to that and maybe, in a way, get sort of jealous, want that attention. He wants to be seen as the de facto leader of the Republican Party, which he still is. The issue, though, is that a lot of donors and a lot of grassroots Republicans are looking at Ron DeSantis as the future of the party.
Okay, so, we've been talking DeSantis and Trump. Now let's talk Trump and Biden. There's a new Harvard poll that finds 7 in 10 Americans say President Biden should not seek another term. 6 in 10 say they don't want Trump to run again. So what are the chances that neither are actually on the ballot in 2024?
We'll have to see. President Trump has really continued to tease this presidential bid. It seems like he is more likely than not to announce. We'll have to see what he ends up doing. And we know the White House is very much saying that President Biden is still running. However, I think right now under the Biden administration, you have sky-high inflation, gas prices. Voters are frustrated. They're blaming Biden in these polls. And then with Trump, I think there was so much fatigue after that presidency, with a lot of the drama that played out, the palace intrigue. Of course, the bitter end of the presidency with January 6th was not great for the former president. So I think there's a fatigue really among Americans and a hunger for someone new. Going back to Ron DeSantis, Republicans have a host of names they can pull from. However, Democrats, not as clear. They have a bit of a thin bench. There are names that they could pull from. However, I think right now leaders in the party are not being looked fondly upon due to the fact that we have such a dire economy. And of course, Democrats are in control right now.
All right, Julia Manchester from our partners at The Hill. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.